Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first edition of Across the Goal Line, a sports podcast brought to you by diehard fans. I'm Corey Maines. With me, as always, is Luke Gottesart. How are you feeling today, Luke?
Pretty good, Corey. Very excited to do this podcast with you. Really like talking about sports. I know you do too. This podcast will be no joke.
It is April Fool's, isn't it?
It is April Fool's. I totally forgot about that.
Okay, big topic list here today. We're going to be previewing Wrestlemania and NXT Takeover Dallas, previewing the upcoming MLB season, looking over March Madness so far up to the Final Four, and we'll be talking about Peyton Manning's retirement.
Now, since we're a new podcast, we want to get all our information out to everybody that is going to be listening. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. That's how you're listening to us right now, hopefully. We also have an email. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can shoot those questions to acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com. That's acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com. So be sure to like Across the Goal Line on Facebook, follow at ATGL16 on Twitter, and be sure to subscribe if you're listening to us right now.
Okay, since we are a new podcast, like you said, we decided that we're going to give you a little insight to what this podcast is all about. Now, the way we're going to present all of our topics, we're going to present them as a football field. And we're going to present each topic as a yard line on that football field. And our goal is to go down the field and get across the goal line. Now, other things we're going to do are little segments are also football related. We have a segment called Goal Line Stand, which is kind of a quick fire round. We'll get into that more later. So just know that even though a bunch of this stuff is football themed, that is not all we do. We'll be talking about a whole slew of different sports and whatnot.
College football, NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, college basketball, the NBA, wrestling, NASCAR, tennis, and some golf. You got the Masters coming up here in about 2 weeks.
And you nailed it right there. So let's get started here. We're going to start on the 20-yard line, very basic touchback type situation. And we're talking about Peyton Manning retiring here. He retired after 18 long seasons in the NFL on March 7th, 2016 here,
yeah,
right?
2016. Hard to believe it's April Fool's, like we said at the beginning of the podcast here. But yeah, Peyton Manning had a great career, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play, in my opinion. He was drafted number 1 overall out of the University of Tennessee to the Indianapolis Colts over Ryan Leaf, who got drafted to the San Diego Chargers. And it's still a big question, if they made the right decision, but they did, because Peyton Manning is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Whenever he has the chance to be elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, in 2021, I believe it is, because he just retired. So it's 5 years after you retire until you can be elected. But yeah, give us some stats on Peyton Manning, Corey.
Peyton Manning, he finished his illustrious career finishing number 1 all-time in wins, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. He made it to 14 Pro Bowls, had 5 Most Valuable Player awards, and also finished his career with 2 Super Bowl rings, with his last coming in the February Super Bowl 50 here against Carolina.
Yeah, he's the only quarterback to win 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams. He won Super Bowl 41 with the Colts, obviously, and then, just as you said, Super Bowl 50 with the Broncos over the Carolina Panthers. His 5 MVP awards, his first 4, they came in back-to-back years in 2003 and 2004, and then 2008 and 2009. And then his first year with the Broncos in 2013, he just had a fantastic season. He threw for 55 touchdowns that season, which is an NFL record. He threw for over 5,500 yards, which is an NFL record during that 2013 season. He has 539 career touchdown passes, as you said, which is an NFL record. Who knows if it will be broken? Maybe his son, Marshall Manning, I believe his name is, will break it if he decides to, play football. Maybe Eli. Maybe Drew Brees. Who knows? We'll have to find out down the road and see. But as you said, he also has the most wins with 200, breaking Brett Favre's record of 199 when he won Super Bowl 50 about 2 months ago now. And he's a 14-time Pro Bowler, as you said, as well. And he has one MVP in the Pro Bowl. And those are just some stats of Peyton Manning's long, fantastic career. Like I said, he is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback of all time.
We of course we're talking about all of his great accomplishments. He's not without his flaws, of course. Of course, his playoff record is something that's been less than been desired. Of course, he's 14-13 in the playoffs to finish his career. 2-2 in Super Bowls. Those two losses to Seattle when they got absolutely crushed, 43-8, and to New Orleans in 2009 when he threw a pick six that sealed the game for the Saints.
Yes, those New Orleans Saints. They went marching down in Miami that night, that's for sure.
Yeah, they did. And 2-2, like I said, in Super Bowls, but I only really count one because he only really won a single Super Bowl like by himself in essence because his defense really carried him this season to Super Bowl 50 behind Von Miller and the Broncos defense.
Yeah, Von Miller, who won MVP of the Super Bowl, he's currently on Dancing with the Stars. Their defense this past year was just ridiculous. Defense wins championships. Offense sells tickets. And essentially, like you said, Corey, Peyton Manning really only won one Super Bowl by himself because of the great play of defenses throughout his career.
Yeah, you brought up that you think Peyton Manning is the best quarterback to play of all time, at least in your opinion. But what about a guy like Tom Brady who has 4 Super Bowl rings compared to Peyton's 2?
Yeah, Tom Brady, 6th-round pick out of Michigan. Always had Peyton's number throughout his career. Really, I don't think that makes a difference because Tom Brady cheated. And
we won't get into that right now, okay? We'll save it for another time.
All right, yeah, we'll save it for later.
Okay, moving on now. We're progressing up the field. We're about the 40-yard line right now. We're going to move into March Madness, recapping everything that's happened up until this point. We're into the Final Four this weekend. But before that, we're going to take you to the stat of the week. Luke, what do you got?
Well, before we get in the stat of the week, we do want to wish Peyton the best in his future endeavors and his retirement. Hopefully, if this podcast gets built up big enough, hopefully we can talk to him and go from there. But like you said, I got the stat of the week. The Pastime Collectibles stat of the week is for this year's March Madness. The ACC was the first conference to ever have 6 teams in the Sweet 16 in the same season. North Carolina, Syracuse, Virginia, Duke, Miami, and Notre Dame. Across the Goal Line is brought to you by Pastime Collectibles, a collectibles store in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. Pastime Collectibles sells hobby boxes, vintage cards, Nintendo games and systems, coins, jerseys, memorabilia, and more. They host Magic the Gathering tournaments every Wednesday and Friday nights, and also show all WWE pay-per-views live. You can check out Pastime Collectibles on Facebook, and be sure to click that like button. You can also follow them on Twitter at Pastime Collect. You can contact them by calling 814-762-1410, or you can email them at pastime.collectibles@gmail.com. Across the Goal Line is brought to you by Silence Our Perdition, a metal band from Clearfield, Pennsylvania. They just started playing a couple years ago, but they're on the rise in the music industry, so be sure to check them out. Some songs include Slaves to Obedience, Never, 6, Left and Solace, and An Untold Story. You can check out Silence Our Perdition on Facebook, and be sure to click that like button. You can also follow them on Twitter at SO Perdition. You can contact them on either Facebook or Twitter.
the Final Four kicks off this Saturday when Villanova plays Oklahoma and then North Carolina plays Syracuse. The winner of those two games will go on to play in the national championship this Monday on TBS. With us being in the Final Four here, we decided that we're going to take you back to the round of 64 and all the action that happened up until this point.
The first Friday of the tournament, the round of 64, it was the first time ever in tournament history that a number 13, 14, and a 15 seed all won on the same day. That being Hawaii beat Cal, Stephen F. Austin beat West Virginia, and Middle Tennessee State beat Michigan State. With Middle Tennessee State beating Michigan State, it was the 8th time ever that a 15 seed beat a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament.
You bring up Michigan State, Lou, and that really bust my bracket. Other bracket busters included Yale beating Baylor, Arkansas Little Rock defeating Purdue. You brought up Stephen F. Austin and Hawaii winning their respective games. And in total, 10 teams with a double-digit seeding made it to the round of 32. And one of those teams actually made it to the Final Four, that being Syracuse. Now, they went on a less than exceptional run. They've only really beaten Virginia to get there. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Virginia was a tough team all year, but this season of college basketball really didn't live up to the hype. A lot of the top teams lost games that you really think they would win
in the
regular season, but it's the NCAA tournament. It's March Madness. Like Dickie V always said, it's March Madness, baby. You know, we live for the upsets. There were a lot of upsets this year, but not as many as you think as years prior.
Yeah, the thing is, all these upsets happened in the first round. Afterwards, there were really no upsets. The only real upset was Gonzaga beating the number 3 seed Utah in the round of 32.
Yeah, and the Pac-12 really didn't live up to the hype in the tournament, as a lot of people thought they would. Oregon was a number 1 seed, and they're the only team to make it to the Sweet 16, which is vastly different than the ACC, who had 6 teams in the Sweet 16.
We're going to wrap it up here because we have to face facts here. This NCAA tournament was not really exciting. It didn't live up to the hype like you talked about.
A lot of the upsets were in the first round.
A lot of the upsets in the first round. And then after that, nothing really happened.
A lot of the top seeds made the Elite Eight.
Yeah, pretty much every top seed made it to the Elite Eight, with the exception of I think Notre Dame and Syracuse were the only two that weren't a 1 or 2 seed.
Yeah, and the whole right side of the bracket was, and the Elite Eight was 4 ACC teams. So it really wasn't.
It wasn't super exciting because also you look at the Final Four now. Syracuse is the only real shock, I would say. Because Villanova, they were a number 1 seed quality team.
Yeah, Syracuse's first 10 seed to ever make the Final Four.
As we mentioned before, the Final Four games will take place this weekend in Houston. We'll be recapping those games along with the championship game on the next edition of Across the Goal Line. Transitioning now, we're getting to about midfield here. We're going to move into Major League Baseball. Their season kicks off this Sunday with 3 games, highlighted by the World Series rematch between the Kansas City Royals and the New York Mets. Here we're going to go through each divisions, choose the division winners, who's going to make the playoffs, and see who can make a World Series run. So we'll start with the AL. Luke, who do you got?
The AL East, I got the Boston Red Sox in a slight margin over the New York Yankees. The Central, I got the Tigers, surprisingly, over the Royals. And in the AL West, I think the Astros will finally win the division, unlike last year, as they made the playoffs as a wild card.
I too have the Astros. I'm really high on the Astros this year. I'm going to stick with the Royals in the Central, and I like your pick with the Red Sox there. I think they're going to turn things around, get to the playoffs, maybe make a run in David Ortiz's last season.
Yeah, it is Ortiz's last season. They also signed David Price.
That's a big one
to help the rotation. So
as long as he can pick it in the pick it up in the playoffs, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I had a change of thought just because I root for the Yankees over the Red Sox. That's just my opinion, though. I know all the Red Sox fans out there aren't gonna like that. but the Yankees are my AL team. I do like the Pirates in the NL, being from Central Pennsylvania, as we are broadcasting this podcast from. So let's get into the NL. The NL East, I have the Washington Nationals. Who do you have, Corey?
Oh, it's my Nats, baby.
Yeah, he likes the Nationals. They're his favorite team. The NL Central, I do like the Pirates. As I said, they are my favorite team, being from Pennsylvania. But the Cubs, signing John Lackey, signing Jason Hayward.
Zobrist.
Yeah, and Zobrist, too. I totally forgot about him. But Lackey going into that rotation with John Lester.
And Jake
Arrieta. Who shut out the Pirates in the NL wildcard game last year. But then you got Jason Hayward coming along with Kyle Schwarber and Chris Bryant. Two hot young guys. The NL West. Also, before I go to the NL West, so my pick to win the Central is the Chicago Cubs. The NL West, I got the Diamondbacks getting Zach Greinke. But then it is 2016. I think the Giants will make the playoffs as a wild card team, and who knows, they can make a run at the World Series because it's an even year. They've won the World Series in 2010, 2012, and 2014. All numbers that are even.
So, just who do you have as your other wild card team besides the Giants?
The Pittsburgh Pirates, because I think whoever doesn't win the Central will be a wild card team. And then you're looking at the Giants against the Pirates again in a wild card game like 2 years ago. And Madison Bumgarner, he did cut his hair, shaved his beard a little bit, but that will probably be grown all back in by the end of the year. But that's not going to make a difference. He's phenomenal. He pitched 2 World Series games in 3 days, I think it was, 2 years ago when they beat the Kansas City Royals. So those are my picks to win the AL, the AL divisions and the NL divisions. And I see the Chicago Cubs playing the Boston Red Sox in the World Series.
Who you got? Just so we know.
Just so we know, I like the Cubs over the Red Sox, as I think all of America is choosing probably the Cubs to be the favorite to win the World Series this year. Marty McFly almost had it right last year, but you know what's a year difference gonna make?
Yeah, I already said earlier, I had the Nats winning the East. I mean, they're my team. They have a great rotation. They've always had a really good rotation. They were the projected top team last year, and they just fell flat on their face. Not even making the playoffs.
Max Scherzer,
Strasburg, Gonzalez. They got rid of Zimmerman, though, which is that's a problem area there.
He went to the Detroit Tigers. That's why the Tigers won in the Central over the Royals. That it's adding to their rotation.
Like you said, the NL Central is that wild like division there with the Pirates, the Cubs, and the Cardinals. They're always fighting for that last wild card spot. But this year, everyone's picking the Cubs, and I'm going to too. I mean, they're just too good. All the acquisitions they made, the talent that they already have, they're just a great team right now. And we'll get more into them in the playoffs. But for right now, the NL Central winners. Okay, in the NL West, I got the Giants. The moves they made to boost their roster, they added Johnny Cueto and Jeff Samardzija to their rotation to help out Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, Samardzija could be playing in the NFL right now. He had the chance to. He played tight end at Notre Dame about 10 years ago now. Got drafted by the Chicago Cubs and decided to play baseball, and it's worked out for him. But, who knows if, he would have played in the NFL if he'd still be playing.
And as for the wild cards, I'm going with the Mets as the one wild card because they've kept like all their pieces from the last season pretty much. They lost Murphy, who was great in the playoffs, to the Nationals, by the way. And the rotation, Syndergaard, Harvey, and DeGrom are just ridiculous. They're gonna probably carry the team into the playoffs, I think.
And all those guys are young. They got plenty of gas left in the tank, so don't be surprised if the teams that are making the playoffs now in today's baseball are still doing it 5, possibly 7, 8 years down the road.
And that second wild card team will be the Cardinals or the Pirates, I think. It's really going to be a toss-up. Maybe like a end of the season game or something, like a last series of the season between those two might settle it. But I can't really tell you who I'm picking right now. It's really tough for me. I'm going to just lean towards the Cardinals. The experience, they still have a bunch of guys, Wainwright coming back. And we're going to... Did you do World Series? Yeah, you did, right?
Yeah, I had the Cubs defeating the Boston Red Sox. And, what the hell? It will go 7 games, come down to the bottom of the 9th inning, 2 outs, 0-2 count. Something's going to happen. And, history will be made when the Chicago Cubs win the 2016 World Series.
I'm not feeling that curse being broken just yet. I'm not seeing them making the World Series. I think that the NLCS will really decide the World Series champion this year, and I think it's going to be the San Francisco Giants. Like you said, even numbers are good for them. Not just that, they are a fantastic baseball team. Of course, they've been there so many times. You mentioned 3 World Series in the past, 6, 7 years?
Yeah, something like that.
And I think they're going to go over the very, very young, very talented Houston Astros team.
The Astros in the World Series. I would have never thought of that.
They were very close last year. They had that gaffe against the Royals. I forget what game it was.
Who ended up winning the World Series?
The Royals.
So
who knows what would have happened if the Astros would have won that series.
Yeah.
I mean, Keuchel and Correa, they're great players. They have a whole bunch of other great young talent. Colby Rasmus. They got a new closer in Giles. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Anyway, I think they're they're a fantastic team. And I am high on the Astros, man.
Yeah. Very, very interesting.
That is for sure.
Let's get into some more free agent signings. As we said, Jason Hayward signed with the Cubs. Price went to the Red Sox. Greinke to the Diamondbacks. Cespedes re-signed with the Mets. As you said, the Mets kept most of everybody except for Murphy. He did go to your Washington Nationals. Cueto to the Giants, like you said. Justin Upton and Jordan Zimmerman, both to the Tigers. Main reason why I have the Tigers winning the Central.
There's another reason why I like the Royals in the Central there. They kept a lot of their pieces too. Gordon, I forget who else. Moustakis, maybe, I think it was.
Yeah, I think Moose is back. I know they always
Lorenzo Cain.
They always show on TV the guy who has the moose antlers at the game, and I think that's pretty cool.
Well, who else we got here? Scott Kazmir to the Dodgers. Not much else. Oh, Ian Kennedy.
Yeah, Ian
to
Kennedy.
The Kansas City Royals. Yes, that's another one.
And if I got a quick story about Ian Kennedy. Our English teacher in high school, Dan Kennedy, Ian Kennedy is his nephew, I believe, or distant cousin, one of the two. He'd always tell the story about Ian and him playing for the Yankees, and then at the time when we had him, he was playing for the San Diego Padres, I think, or maybe no, it was the Arizona Diamondbacks. Excuse me. But then you have the Toronto Blue Jays as well in the AL East. They got Jay Happ back, who had a phenomenal second half of the year last year with the Pittsburgh Pirates. One of the main reasons why they made a strong push at the end of the season to make the wild card game, in my opinion.
I see your boys signed David Freese.
Yeah, David Freese.
Former World Series hero.
Yeah, he was a World Series hero. I was just about ready to say that with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was the MVP of that World Series. And he holds the record still to this day from 5 years ago with the most RBIs in a postseason with 21. And that pretty much sums up most of the free agent signings in baseball this past offseason. A lot of them were for a lot of years and a lot of money. Jason Hayward got a 8-year, $184 million deal with the Cubs. And David Price got a 7-year, $217 million. So if Hayward or Price are out there listening, maybe they can give us some money and help out,
Bribes,
boost this podcast.
Bribes.
Hey, anyway, you can make some money.
All right.
Why not at least try?
That's enough. We're going to leave you here for a little bit as we go to another Pastime Collectibles Stat of the Week. With a Philadelphia Flyers win over the Washington Capitals on Wednesday night, the Ottawa Senators were officially eliminated from the NHL playoffs. This is marking the first time since 1979 that no Canadian hockey teams will be featured in the NHL playoffs.
Across the Goal Line is brought to you by Silence Our Perdition, a metal band from Clearfield, Pennsylvania. They just started playing a couple years ago, but they're on the rise in the music industry, so be sure to check them out. Some songs include Slaves to Obedience, Never, Six, Left and Solace, and An Untold Story. You can check out Silence Our Perdition on Facebook, and be sure to click that like button. You can also follow them on Twitter at SOPerdition. You can contact them on either Facebook or Twitter. Across the Goal Line is brought to you by Pastime Collectibles, a collectibles store in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. Pastime Collectibles sells hobby boxes, vintage cards, Nintendo games and systems, coins, jerseys, memorabilia, and more. They host Magic the Gathering tournaments every Wednesday and Friday nights, and also show all WWE pay-per-views live. You can check out Pastime Collectibles on Facebook, and be sure to click that like button. You can also follow them on Twitter at Pastime Collect. You can contact them by calling 814-762-1410, or you can email them at pastime.collectibles@gmail.com.
All right, we have moved across the midfield line and into enemy territory, and with this, we are going to be talking about the respective All-Star weekends for the NBA and the NHL. The NBA All-Star weekend took place in the middle of February here, and it was highlighted with a couple of great contests, skill challenges, stuff like that, with the three-point contest that was really basically about Klay Thompson versus Steph Curry, which Klay Thompson did come out on top of Steph Curry in that one. And also the incredible dunk contest, the show that was put on by Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon. The NHL All-Star Weekend had a bunch of skill challenges as well, fastest skater, hardest shot. The shootout, kind of like their version of the dunk contest, the shootout. It was highlighted basically by the new 3-on-3 All-Star game. What was it, a challenge?
Yeah, it was a 4-team, 3-on-3 single elimination tournament. And
that's right.
Like you said, it was the first time they ever did it. And teams represented
their divisions, right?
Each division, yeah. And the Pacific beat Atlantic 1-0 in the championship game.
All right, moving on. Back to the NBA All-Star Weekend. Luke, how did you feel about those different contests and stuff this year?
The NBA All-Star Weekend, the dunk contest is always the funnest thing to watch because you don't know what the guys are going to do. But this year, they should have let them keep dunking all night long until somebody won because LaVine and Gordon were going back-to-back with ridiculous dunks. And I was jumping up out of my seat. It was ridiculous. But then the three-point contest, like you said, it was between Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, two Splash brothers out in Golden State. And they were going back and forth, shooting the long distance three-pointer. But it was also headlined by the announcement of a list of finalists for the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is a prestigious honor. Names like Allen Iverson, Shaq, and coaches Tom Izzo and Bo Ryan, both in college, were on that list. An official announcement of the inductees will be this weekend at the Final Four in Houston. But we do have some breaking news. It was reported yesterday, I believe, that Yao Ming will be one of those inductees to be in the Hall of Fame. I think he's 7'4", 7'5" maybe. He might even be taller than that. He hasn't played in a couple years, so it's a little hard to remember. But he didn't play that long because of his height, but he was a good player, and he deserves it. So congrats to Yao Ming, and congrats to whoever does get inducted. And we'll talk more about that later on in our next episode when we do reveal the final inductees into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And then you have the celebrity game. The celebrity game is always one of the funnest things to watch, other than the dunk contest, in my opinion, because celebrities are, people who are actors, comedians, rappers, musicians, I should say, not rappers, musicians. And Kevin Hart, being a comedian, and as funny as he is, he won MVP in the celebrity game, I think 4 years in a row. And then this year, he decided to take a back seat and coach the team. And, well, he got tired of doing that. Later in the game, he came in and played. He didn't win the MVP for the 5th straight year, but his team still came out on top, I believe.
Did they?
So, we'll just leave it at that for the NBA All-Star Weekend. And the thing I like most about hockey's All-Star Weekend is the hardest shot competition. Because you got a hockey puck. It's round, it's small, and it's hard. And guys are shooting those with a stick from 80 miles an hour to up to 100 miles an hour. I think the fastest one this year came in at close to 100. Could be wrong, but that's just crazy. You're getting a puck shot at you like that. I just hate to be the goalie during an NHL game.
Yeah. You're saying, you brought up the hardest shot contest there in the NHL. I really like the shootout contest. Like I said, it's kind of like the NHL's version of the dunk contest. You had guys that were able to do very cool and funky stuff. With the NHL All-Star Weekend being in Nashville this year, a couple guys brought the country music theme to their shootouts. I forget who the country star is that one of them brought in. I forget. I won't get into that now. But I like when PK Subban dressed up as Jaromir Jagr for one of his shots. And the San Jose, I forget his name. I can't for the life of me remember his name. He had his own child come out and score one of his goals for him. So that one's really nice. It allows the players to be really loose, be really creative with their stuff. And overall, just a really fun atmosphere for that little competition. And the new All-Star game is just fantastic because we have all these years before, it was just like ridiculous score lines, like 10-8, 10-9, whatever. Guys was just going off in the All-Star game. It's like the NBA All-Star game. What was that? That score was what? 196 to 173, it says here. And just totally ridiculous game. There's no defense being played. I like how they did that. They also had the cash prize, I believe, for the winners, maybe. I'm not quite sure about that. I'll have to look at that. And we'll get back. And I'm going to go back in here to the NBA. You said that let him go all night. I don't know if we could have done that because at the very end there, you could tell Gordon was out of stuff. That's why Levine pretty much won. And Levine was just taken off from the free throw like 3 times, which is like why Gordon should have won, obviously, because Gordon had a lot more variety. I honestly thought his dunks were way better, especially the one where he goes between both his legs over the mascot and hits the reverse. That's ridiculous. But props to Levine for sticking with him and keeping up with him because, I mean, that was the most ridiculous dunk contest in a long time. I don't remember one that ridiculous in all the years I've been watching him pretty much. And then, of course, the three-point contest, really great storyline type thing going on there with Clay versus Steph. Last year was the same thing, but Steph came on top. This year, Clay got hot, took down Steph. Good for him, He gets those bragging rights for the year. So, overall, pretty good All-Star weekend, for both of those guys, for both those sports. And really good to see the change of pace there, really making them more exciting, because sometimes they're not that exciting. The main events aren't even that exciting. Like, we're more excited about the minor stuff, like you said, the slam dunk contest. We're more excited about that than the actual All-Star game in the NBA, mostly.
Yeah, and change, like you said, change in pace here. Our main event of this podcast is talking about WrestleMania, and I say we should get into WrestleMania right now because it's WrestleMania weekend. It's Final Four weekend. Final Four is in Houston. WrestleMania is in Dallas. Texas is going probably crazy. But we got NXT Takeover Dallas tonight. Some of the matches, you got Finn Balor, also known as Fergal Devitt, over in Ireland and Japan, taking on Samoa Joe for the NXT Championship. You got Bayley, who I really, really like, against Asuka for the NXT Women's Championship. Dash and Dawson, the Revival, they finally gave them a name against American Alpha, who are Jordan and Gable, who Kurt Angle really, really likes. And speaking of Kurt Angle, going back to how we said one of our English teachers, Dan Kennedy, his nephew or cousin is Ian Kennedy, who plays in Major League Baseball. Well, Kurt Angle went to college with one of our history teachers, and that being Pat Pallow. So that's just another little key bit I think everybody should know. But then going on, Corey, sum up the final matches of NXT TakeOver from Dallas.
Yeah, we got the debut of Japanese superstar Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Sami Zayn in a singles match. We have another debut, Austin Aries, big TNA ROH star, against Baron Corbin, and Apollo Crews takes on Elias Sampson.
Yeah, the Drifter, Elias Sampson. He's from Pittsburgh, I believe. He's taking on Apollo Crews. Real excited about that. I think that's a low-key match. That's under both the Zayn, Nakamura, and Aries Corbin singles matches, other than the championship matches that are going on.
All right, Luke, I want to stop you there. Let's get into predictions of these matches here. We'll start with Apollo Crews and Elias Sampson. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Apollo Crews. He was a number one contender for the NXT Championship a while back after he debuted at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn right before SummerSlam back in August. I expect him to get the win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sampson won and got some motivation and he becomes a new number one contender for the NXT Championship moving forward. Austin Aries, I think, will beat Baron Corbin in his debut match.
Yeah, right with you.
Corbin's a heel right now. Aries coming in as a hot baby face. Corbin, I think, might get screwed over. But who knows? We'll have to find out and see. Just tune in to WWE Network tonight and you'll find out who does win, some of these matches.
All right, Zayn Nakamura, Shinsuke Nakamura, he's ridiculous. I've seen some of his matches in Japan. I've watched some of them.
Was he the one who wrestled a doll? Or a blow-up doll? Or...
No. I think that's another Japanese star. I think Ibushi, is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But Nakamura had a great match against the new addition to the WWE roster, AJ Styles, at Wrestle Kingdom 10. One of the matches of the year candidates for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom is always is Japan's WrestleMania. It's all the wrestlers in the world go to it. It's just like I said, it's Japan's WrestleMania. Enough said about that.
I think he picks up the win, of course. Sami Zayn, he's moving up to the main roster. He's in the main card on WrestleMania. We'll get to that. And so, they're not going to have Nakamura lose in his first match. I would not think.
Yeah, I got to go with Nakamura as well.
All right, the Revival, Dash and Dawson versus American Alpha. American Alpha, they are the most over team in NXT, besides maybe Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy.
Yeah. How you doing? They'll be up on the main roster here soon, speaking of Big Cass and Enzo. But as you said, yeah, I agree with you. American Alpha.
I think they deserve this win. I feel like they should win it. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, and then going in a feud with Dash and Dawson down the line. Bayley, as I said, I really, really like her. But I wouldn't be surprised if Asuka wins. She's got a lot of momentum right now, being a top Japanese women's wrestler. That's what I have to say about that. And as Stone Cold would always say, that's the bottom line.
This match is really difficult because, on the one hand, Bayley is like the top woman in NXT right now, but Asuka's the up-and-comer, pretty much, kind of like the person who's more than likely going to take over for Bayley once she goes to the main roster. Maybe it'll be tonight, but it's hard to tell. I think they might keep it on Bayley for a little bit longer. It just depends on when she's finally going to get called up.
They could be bringing Bayley up though too, just because I heard a rumor that WWE is thinking about rebranding the Divas division and calling it the Women's Championship again, the Women's Division. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bayley drops the title to Asuka and debuts on Raw Monday night, or even gets into the triple threat match between Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks, which we're going to get into here in a little bit for the Divas title. But
main event here, Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe. So this is a very interesting matchup here because I know you heard rumors about Joe coming up to the main roster. Likewise, Balor might be doing something similar.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell. Like, the NXT is kind of hard to judge who's going to win and who's going to lose because of who's getting called up, who is going to be staying there for a while, like what's going on. So this match, I don't know who to pick, honestly. I can't put a finger on it right now. I mean, we'll see tonight, so I'll figure it out then, I guess.
Now moving on to WrestleMania 32, you got that on Sunday at 7 o'clock on the WWE Network. The pre-show is going to start at 5 o'clock, and then you got the pre-show matches starting at 6 for the first time ever on the USA Network. Those matches are both tag matches. You got the Usos, who are Rikishi's twin boys, going up against the Heart of ECW, the Dudley Boys. Who do you like in that match, Corey?
It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just take the Usos. The Dudley Boys are enhancement talent right now.
And then the other match on the pre-show is the 10 Diva tag match between the Total Divas of Brie Bella, Paige, Natalya, Alicia Fox, and some people are unhappy with Eva Marie getting called back up, versus Team Bad and Blonde, Naomi, Tamina, Emma, Summer Rae, and then you got the debut of Lana wrestling her first match. So I'm very excited to see how Lana wrestles.
I mean, that's all I'm really interested in this match, because this match is nothing to me really. It doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of there, if you ask me.
Yeah, fill some time.
You got to fill that time on the pre-show before the. Also, just the people, maybe get the people into it a little bit, because they'll be booing Eva Marie like crazy.
Yeah. And then you got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It's the third edition of the Battle Royal. And this year, they're moving it from 30 people. I shouldn't say people, I should say superstars. 30 superstars to 20 superstars.
Those injuries.
Because of injuries. You got Randy Orton out. You got Cesaro out. You got, help me out, Corey. Who else is
John
injured
Cena.
right now? You got John Cena.
Seth Rollins.
Yeah, Seth Rollins blew his knee out.
just blew his knee out on Raw in a dark match after Raw. This past Monday, I believe. Maybe the Monday before that.
I think it was 2 weeks ago. But don't be surprised if the Wyatt family does interfere in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. And don't be surprised if, and this is my prediction for this match, I see Bray Wyatt winning the Battle Royal and getting a lot of momentum moving forward, and hopefully winning a WWE World Heavyweight Championship in the near future, because he deserves it.
Any title for that matter.
Yeah, any title for Bray Wyatt. He deserves. He's put in a whole lot of hard work.
Him or
just
the family.
like all these guys, they put in hard work day in and day out. They deserve to be here. They deserve to be on WrestleMania. They're here for a reason. And that's all we'll say about that.
All right, going back to the Wyatt family, like, anyone in the Wyatt family, really, because Luke Harper is the only one to even hold a title in the Wyatt family. And he held the Intercontinental title for a little bit, only because he was a part of the Authority versus like the John Cena's team in Survivor Series storyline.
Yeah, that was about a year and a half ago, I believe.
Like, he was just basically gifted to it in storyline only. So, it's hard. I mean, anybody in the Wyatt family, I think anyone in the Wyatt family wins this. Strowman or Wyatt. Not Rowan, of course. He's obviously, like, the weak link guy in terms of a push or anything. So, yeah, definitely a Wyatt family member, I think, takes the Andre the Giant Battle Royal there.
And then you got the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. We're going down through these matches from 1 to 10, 1 being most relevant. You got Triple H against Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns should have got a push from 2 years ago until just recently, but I think they waited too long, and that's one of the main reasons why fans hate him as much as they do now. Don't be surprised if Seth Rollins could make a return at WrestleMania. He could be healthy enough. Who knows if he is. Watch out for that, though. I like Triple H to retain the title.
Is that a personal pick, or you really think that he's... Because, honestly, everyone's automatically going the Reigns route, because everyone thinks that's what WWE wants, but the reactions that Roman Reigns has been getting over the last however long have been very negative, especially in the eyes of WWE, because they want him to be the next John Cena, so to speak. And the problem is just his character does not mesh with that type of character, that type of, like, the face of the company. So, yeah, I'll take Reigns because, I mean, I just think that's what WWE is going to do.
Then you got the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Now, they did the ladder match last year, and Daniel Bryan won. 1 year after he won Wrestlemania, I believe they called it, at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans. He won the ladder match for the Intercontinental title last year. And shortly after, he hurt his neck again and had to relinquish the title and had to retire just a little bit ago. I think it was about last month that he retired. But this year, you got Kevin Owens going up against lifelong personal friend Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Stardust, The Miz, Zack Ryder, and Sin Cara. Now, Zack Ryder's in the match just because Neville getting hurt against Chris Jericho on Raw a couple weeks ago, I believe. So don't be surprised if Ryder goes back down to NXT with Mojo Rawley and gets the Hype Brothers back together because they stay hype.
Who you got this match, though?
I think Owens retains.
I like that pick.
I think Owens retains. I really, really like Kevin Owens. I wouldn't be surprised if Sami Zayn won it, though, either. And then they move into a feud from now until SummerSlam at the end of August between those two.
I'm thinking along the same lines. I'm thinking Kevin Owens wins it and then goes in with a thing with Sami Zayn. Maybe Owens like does something very like nefarious. He like fakes injury or something. Then Sami Zayn's about to win and he just throws him off the ladder or something like that. But I think it's KO. I mean, it's KO Mania, right?
It is KO Mania. And so why not win?
The only thing is, like, I think I heard a rumor that's supposed to be the Miz is supposed to get, like, a push or something like that.
Well, Miz was reportedly injured last weekend at a live event in Richmond, Virginia. But he tweeted out shortly after the event got over that he was perfectly fine. It was just for cautionary reasons. I wouldn't be surprised if the Miz won either. He's held the Intercontinental title before. He's held the WWE Championship before. And as he still says, he headlined WrestleMania 27 from Atlanta, Georgia against John Cena and beat him. Yes, and his dreams came true, he said. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Miz won either.
All right, we're going to move on to in my mind, a very terrible match. The WWE United States Championship match against Kalisto versus Ryback.
Yeah, Ryback changed his gimmick a little bit. I mean, he still says feed me more, but he changed his outfit. He looks a lot like Goldberg. He gets the Goldberg chance now, as he did before, but more than what he did before. I think Kalisto retains. Ryback, I heard, is getting a push after WrestleMania for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So we'll just have to see about that.
Yeah, Kalisto, I mean, it's hard. I don't know
there's
what Ryback's doing here in this feud. I don't understand it. Like, there's nothing that's making me want to watch this match at all from what they've done.
There's not really a whole lot to say about this matchup because, as Corey said, it's...
There's nothing there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
there's
one
not
week
really
on Raw,
exactly what to say.
Ryback's all of a sudden in WrestleMania against Kalisto. It's like out of nowhere.
Yep.
Okay, 4-on-3.
Speaking of out of nowhere, an RKO out of nowhere would be pretty nice if Randy Orton returned, but he's injured right now, as we said. Sorry to interrupt you, but
it's okay.
Go on.
All right, 4-on-3 handicap match: The New Day versus the League of Nations. I have only recently found out this is not a title match. It's just a regular old handicap match.
Yeah, it's a 4-on-3 handicap match. I think we're both a little disappointed because we did think it was for the tag team titles.
I'm also disappointed in that it's just the League of Nations. There's nothing else. Like, New Day deserves better than the League of Nations for WrestleMania. So, who do you got?
Bootios.
Bootios it is. That's all you need right there. All right, the Divas Championship match is a triple threat match here. It's Charlotte versus Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. Now, this is a interesting match because it is a triple threat match, which means Ric Flair can get involved as much as he wants, which is exactly how Charlotte has retained her title.
Yeah,
at every turn.
Charlotte being the daughter of Ric Flair. Sasha Banks is related to The Rock and Snoop Dogg, I think. Snoop Dogg getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame tomorrow night, the night before WrestleMania, in the celebrity wing. And then The Rock's supposed to be appearing too. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Yeah, nothing has been said.
We can get to that at the end here.
Yeah, who knows? We're gonna have to find out and see about that. But my low-key pick to win the Divas Championship is Becky Lynch this Sunday. She doesn't have anybody in the business, family-wise, that's come before her. I think her time's now, as John Cena would say. And Becky Lynch is my pick to win the Divas Championship.
And that's who I would want, because I like Becky probably the best out of the three, but I think that the WWE is going to go in Banks' way. They're going to give it to her. I think she's more like over with the fans and stuff, so I think she's just the best pick for Divas Championship at this moment, although I really would like Becky Lynch to win.
And then AJ Styles, he debuted at the Royal Rumble. I think he should have debuted the following night on Raw after the Royal Rumble. But that's when Shane O'Mac returned. We're going to get to Shane here in a little bit when he goes up against The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. But Styles is going up against Y2J Chris Jericho, who has his own podcast, Talk Is Jericho, which we listen to. And they're both phenomenal wrestlers. AJ Styles is the phenomenal one. Mm-hmm. So AJ Styles gets the victory over Chris Jericho.
Definitely. AJ Styles is going to get this win over Chris Jericho because Chris Jericho, I believe, he's just there to kind of give AJ Styles that win. He's not really he's the enhancement guy in this match. Just like the Dudleys I said before, they're putting over the Usos. So he's gonna let AJ Styles win. Like, not let him win, of course, but he's gonna be the one. He's gonna put him over. Like,
I know what you mean. And then You got a no-holds-barred street fight, okay, between the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. Wish I could say it like Paul Heyman, but I'm not going to. Against the lunatic fringe, Dean Ambrose. Now, it's a no-holds-barred street fight. Corey, why do you think Dean Ambrose is going to win the no-holds-barred street fight?
Well, you've already said my prediction. I do have Dean Ambrose winning this match because it is a street fight. He's that character of his. It just works for a street fight. He's dirty. He can fight dirty. He'll hit Brock Lesnar with everything and anything. He's getting built up as a very dangerous guy, I believe, because he's getting visits by Mick Foley and Terry Funk and stuff on Raw. They're building him up as this lunatic with all these weapons and stuff. Just on Raw this past week, he brought out the wagon and got all these weapons in there.
Yeah, Mick Foley gave him a barbed wire baseball bat, and Terry Funk gave him Chainsaw Charlie. Be very surprised if he actually uses a chainsaw.
I think it'll come out, but nothing will happen with it. He'll at least have it in his hands at one point, probably. But like I said, this type of match just favors Ambrose because the no DQ, all the weapons. It's a way to kind of take Brock Lesnar down. Like, you can't take Brock Lesnar out in just a regular fight. You need to fight dirty. You need all these weapons just to do it. And if there's any match that Brock Lesnar would lose, just perfectly, no BS, it'd be this type of match. Plus, I think the company is high on Dean Ambrose, if you ask me.
Yeah, I really like Dean Ambrose as well. He did win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at Elimination Chamber, I think it was last year, at the end of May, but only because
he got it stripped.
He got
immediately.
DQ'd and got stripped. I forget how it went. He deserves to be WWE World Heavyweight Champion here in the near future. A lot of people think he's the next Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't know about that, but my pick is also Ambrose to win the no-holds-barred street fight.
A little side note here. I think one of the reasons Ambrose does win is that Bray Wyatt, who we mentioned earlier, possibly winning the Andre the Giant Battle Royal thing. I think he might interrupt this match, take out Brock Lesnar, or maybe not take him out, maybe at least distract him a little bit to allow Dean to pick up the victory, because Lesnar and Wyatt really need to have that fight. They've been teasing from Royal Rumble. Yeah,
they're supposed to fight at Roadblock, and then
Bray got hurt.
His back. I think he has a back injury he's been dealing with. And then Luke Harper actually faced Lesnar. Now Harper blew his knee out 2 weeks ago on Raw. But yeah, I think Bray Wyatt will interfere in that match as well.
All right, now to what is arguably the main event, storyline-wise and possibly just match-wise too. The Undertaker versus Shane McMahon in a Hell in a Cell match. Now, there's some interesting stipulations to this match besides just being Hell in a Cell. If Shane McMahon wins this match, he'll be taking over Monday Night Raw. And also, if he wins, it'll be The Undertaker's last WrestleMania. So, Luke, what are your thoughts about this match? What do you think is happening?
I'd really like to see Shane win, just so he can take over Raw and change some of the environment in the WWE. I think the whole WWE universe would really appreciate that. But how can't The Undertaker win at WrestleMania? He's 22-1, but he lost to Brock Lesnar 2 years ago. And Brock Lesnar's the one who beat the one in 22-1, as Paul Heyman says. So I see Shane winning. I see him taking over Raw. Vince is going to be put in a situation that he doesn't want to be put in. And maybe the Authority moves to SmackDown. Maybe there's a brand split coming up here in the near future that we don't even know about. But I'd really like to see Shane win.
Yeah, you said it. Everyone really wants Shane to win. This is like the weirdest match pretty much ever, because on the one hand, it's The Undertaker.
He's the phenom.
He's the guy at WrestleMania, which is why Vince has him facing Shane, because he is the guy at WrestleMania. He's virtually unbeatable. And then you have Shane, who's like, people don't want the authority on Raw anymore or anything. They want Shane to come in, change things up, which he would if he does win. This is a tough match. I think I have The Undertaker down, but I'm not sure. And I'm just saying this because I have like a theory about what's going to happen. It's just that maybe Shane McMahon's actually going to like pull a quick one on us, and like he's actually with Vince, and he's just came back and he's like actually going to take over Raw anyway, and this is all just a plot to get The Undertaker out maybe. And then you can still do the brand split in that situation. It's just they split him up between Shane and Stephanie maybe.
We'll just have to watch WrestleMania, and we'll give you a recap of everything that happens.
Yep.
In our next episode, probably episode 3, because in episode 2 we're going to be talking about both the college and the NFL season this past year. We're going to talk about some new coaches for both college and NFL and where they came from. Going to go over some of the awards, who won MVP, who won Player of the Year. You got some franchise tags before free agency, and then you got the Hall of Fame class of 2016 for the National Football League. So we'll get into some of those things. But before we leave, we have a question of the day brought to you by Silence Our Perdition. So Corey, if you'd like to read the question of the day.
All right. Do you think that a 16 seed will ever be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament?
I think eventually yes, but who knows when. It's the 8th time this year when Middle Tennessee State beat Michigan State, as we said earlier. So it just depends on how teams get seeded, where they're playing, who they're playing, and little things like that. That's my reason. Same
thing. You said it. Eventually, maybe it happens. You touched on it as well. The seeding, maybe one seeds that there's a 1 seed that really isn't that much of a 1 seed. They just kind of got there because the 1 seeds that would have been 1 seeds lost in their tournament or something. And then maybe there's a 16 seed that's actually really low key, really good, and then they make a surprise run, or maybe they just a magical run by a 16 seed. Maybe they just come in and they just dominate the games, like a Middle Tennessee this year. Like Michigan State didn't play bad. Middle Tennessee dominated the game shooting wise. And before I forget, I just realized we're on the goal line, and that means this is time for Goal Line Stand, a rapid fire question round where we take some more current questions in sports today. And we asked him. Well, I'm just gonna ask him to Luke here, and
it's perfectly fine with me.
All right, so this is just composed of more current things, like I said, and also maybe down the line some viewer questions. So that's where you guys can get involved on Facebook and Twitter, on social media, all that. So we'll begin with who you got making the who you got winning these 2 Final Four games Saturday.
I think Oklahoma is gonna play North Carolina.
And who you got winning?
Being a Duke fan, I really don't want to take North Carolina, so I'm not going to take North Carolina. Buddy Hield is ridiculous. He's a phenomenal player. I have Oklahoma beat North Carolina in the national championship game come Monday night.
I'll take that too. I'm a Big 12 guy right here. So I saw that the LA Rams are supposed to be on Hard Knocks this season. What do you think about that?
I could really care less about Hard Knocks. I've never watched it. Don't plan on watching it anytime soon. The only thing that'd be interesting about it is the Rams are going back to LA. That's the only interest that I'd have if I did watch it.
All right. As I said earlier in the show, Kansas City Royals versus the New York Mets on opening day. Who do you got in that one?
I got to take the defending World Series champion Kansas City Royals just because they're playing at home.
All right. Can the Broncos win with Mark Sanchez, or do they need to bring in someone else?
Well, they do have Trevor Siemian on the roster as well. He did play 1 snap last year against Pittsburgh, and he took a knee. but they're going to need somebody other than Mark Sanchez and Trevor Siemian. Look for them to draft a quarterback, maybe even sign somebody. I know free agency is getting down to the wire with people being signed and picked up, but they need to get somebody else.
All right, and finally, what are you watching on Monday? The Raw after WrestleMania or the NCAA championship game?
I'll watch Raw from 8 to 9, and then after that, whenever the championship game comes on, probably won't be closer till 9:30, so I'll probably watch Raw from 8 to 9:30. And most of the stuff will probably be over on wrestling by then, except for the main event. And who knows what it's going to be with the outcome of WrestleMania coming this Sunday. But everybody has DVR nowadays, I think. So I'll tape WWE Monday Night Raw and end up watching the national championship game.
All right, that wraps it up for this edition of Across the Goal Line. Don't forget to like us on all social media. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at ATGL16. Email us your questions at acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. Pose your questions on Facebook, Twitter, email, whatever you got to do. Get it to us. Maybe it'll be featured right here on Across the Goal Line. See ya.